My name is Travis Beauchamp, also known as Samox. I'm the producer, editor, director, writer. If it's a thing, I did it while making METAGAME, the 8-part documentary miniseries about the 5 gods of Melee. This is my attempt at briefly showcasing some of what went into creating it. Let's jump right in. This was going to be my sequel to The Smash Brothers, the first long-form documentary series I had made. For the next installment, I wanted to improve on all aspects of my work. Whereas The Smash Brothers has a lighter tone and a more piecemeal style, I wanted METAGAME to feel cohesive in its presentation, with a bit of a darker tone to reflect its starker, more grandiose subject matter. The Smash Brothers was a story about a community. METAGAME was going to be about gods and godslayers, and I wanted to see those stakes reflected in its design. To that end, I enlisted the help of a select few co-creators this time. For the art direction, I hired Daniel Wyatt, a graphics aficionado and someone with whom I'd collaborated on a previous series I created called Great Games. For the main title tracks and montage music, I chose Garrett Williamson, an accomplished singer-songwriter with a history in the Smash community. At the time, his song Settle It and Smash had garnered over 1 million plays on YouTube. I realized early on that the series should have a sort of visual centerpiece, a pantheon for each of the 5 gods to exist in. This wasn't some terminology I had pulled out of my ass either. The Smash community regularly referred to these players in celestial terms to reflect just how much better they were than everyone else. Daniel and I debated how this pantheon would be presented, and it underwent various incarnations. Eventually, we settled on the idea of glowing-eyed portraits nested inside incandescent spheres, with each color representing an aspect of that god's personality or life. The pantheon itself would exist in a netherworld, a stone-filled temple of sorts, but one that seems almost futuristic at the same time. This visual choice paid dividends throughout the series. It gave me an opportunity to punctuate the entrance of a new member into the pantheon as we hit those historic moments. It also enabled us to highlight the impact when a god was slain by Leffen, the godslayer and chief antagonist of the series. A stylized version of the pantheon would also become the poster art for METAGAME, again highlighting a combination of ancient and modern in its conception. The length of the series allowed for a variety of musical styles to be explored: classical music, electronica,
and fail.
and goofy chiptunes, just to name a few.
He just started deciding to use Mario.
But the big title tracks would be informed by the funky mid-90s jam style of Garrett Williamson. This included things like the opening sequence track, which sought to recreate some of the magic of the original documentary's opening music. As the kids call it, a banger. Garrett also showcased immense range in many of his creations. When I ham-fistedly layered 2 different musical tracks over a certain montage to convey a style I wanted, he took the inspiration and gave it cohesion, following my edits with his new track.
Every character had weaknesses, so I started to think about them.
Similarly, when I plunked away at some keys to hint at a style I was imagining for when one of the gods finally wins his first American tournament, Garrett took that and ran with it.
Finally, I was able to, make the dream come true. If you refuse anything, but the best in life, you very, very often get it.
With each of us working off the other, the sonic profile for the series began to take shape. METAGAME is certainly ripe with nostalgia and nods to the time period in which many of the players spent their childhoods, since the narrative through lines for the main characters are about growth from childhood. The golden age of console multiplayer was the origin story for most Smashers, and so influenced many of my stylistic choices. For instance, I looked to evoke a slight VHS quality in my color corrections, with greens and reds in the darks and lights respectively. Similarly, I added in a slight prism effect. This wasn't just a nod to VHS, however. This was a nod to another narrative device which appears as the story progresses and comes to represent the main character's quest to become whole, namely the twin aspects of fighting in Melee, neutral game and punish game. The older style also had functional advantages as well. At points, audio blips had occurred in some of my interviews, and by inserting a bit of VHS fuzz, I could have a visual reason for the audio disturbance.
A lot of my ability to recognize patterns.
You know, besides just my ineptitude. I could talk for hours about how this project came to be, from the bracket animations, to my interview methods, to how we recorded gameplay action, but hopefully this will give you an idea of the massive effort that went into producing every little thing in this documentary. Thank you again for your consideration.